All right, welcome everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get the meeting started. My name is Troy Simon. I want to thank everyone for attending today. If some of you have been speaking with one of my teammates, Tar St. Martin, he's in attendance as well, so he can follow up with you guys after the meeting if you like. The couple just housekeeping items. You're all muted, obviously, as you can tell. But if you have to ask, or we want to ask a question, we can use the chat box or the question box within GoToWebinar. Just feel free to type them as you have them, and we'll try to get your questions answered for you here while we're on the call. The goal for today is just to give you guys a good overview of what Acumatica Construction Edition is about, just give you some background on it, give you a feel for how the program flows and how it might be applicable to what you're doing now. So maybe you're upgrading from QuickBooks, or maybe you're changing out of a Sage 100 or 300 or different existing ERP solution. So ideally, at the end of the day, we would love to have you guys catch back up with this one-on-one, either with myself or Tar, and schedule a needs analysis call, and then we'll do a workflow-based demo on how you guys would actually use this software within your business. So, but hopefully you get some good information today. I'm not going to bore you to death with a long PowerPoint, so everybody can breathe a sigh of relief there. I did just want to give you just a little bit of background on the software. It is a true cloud system. It's designed for all phases of construction. So whether you're here today as a general contractor or developer, home builder, subcontractor, there's a fit potentially there for each of you guys. There's a lot of reasons why people are thinking mobile, right? They're wanting a cloud solution to help run their business, and you know, each company is a little bit different in their reasoning behind it. But at the end of the day, most of them they want to break away from the chains of the office, because their projects are in the field, they're not happening at the office. So they need to be mobile. They need to be able to use it from their phone. They need to be able to pull it up from their tablet. And when you think about the legacy products that most construction companies are using today, it doesn't give them those abilities to pull up a job cost report from your iPhone or from your Droid phone, or to approve a purchase order, or to approve an invoice. I mean, there's a lot of things that you would like to do outside of the office today, but either your technology is limiting you, or you simply just can't. This sort of breaks the mold on all of that. In Acumatica, you can get all the information you need anywhere, anytime. Plus, the second main reason is we are living more and more in a seamless, integrated world, right? So if you think about all the solutions we use for our businesses on a daily basis, 365, more and more we're using stuff like DocuSign and Adobe eSign. We've got tax solutions out there like Avalara that contractors are using. More and more people are wanting CRM. They want to keep up with their customers, or they're using a product like Procore to manage their projects, or Hyphen for their supply side. So there's a lot of softwares out there that we could use on a daily basis that without Acumatica, the integration becomes real challenging. With Acumatica, it's really quite simple. And we have hundreds. This is just 8 or 10 that we integrate with. There's hundreds out there, from solutions that are tax-based solutions to HR solutions to maybe expense solutions, like stuff you wouldn't normally think about, Expensify or Concur, that has integration to Acumatica. The interface, as we get into the program, you'll see it's super easy to navigate. It's real clean. You'll find that subcontracts look like change orders, or the entry screens rather, look like they're real similar. So the subcontract screen is a similar entry to the change order screen, which is a similar entry screen to the budget. I mean, it's once you know the flow of where you're at in the system, it's very easy to navigate from screen to screen. Another thing that they did when they designed this was they made it to where we were trying to get single screen entry as much as we could. So we wanted to be able to manage projects and tasks and budgets and change orders and activities on the project. So maybe phone calls that came in, or emails that you sent, that CRM activity of what's happening on the project, all our balances, our compliance. We wanted to be able to do that from a single page and not have to go out of one screen into another, out of another screen into another to get those tasks done. So because of that, Acumatica is growing super fast. It's the fastest growing cloud solution on the market today. We just crossed over 4,000 customers. It's been available since 2010, so about 8 years, to 4,000 customers. There's sales and support across the globe. We've got a headquarters in Seattle, Washington, all the U.S.-based support, Columbus and Virginia. Programming, and of course, happens all over the world because we have customers all over the world. But so we got a really good footprint, and it is getting a ton of awards and recognition. They have won multiple CODiE awards, which is a pretty big deal in this space, just because it's kind of like the Oscars of the code base, right? Multiple SaaS award winners. Gartner, which is an independent research firm, has actually put these guys in their they call the Magic Quadrant, visionaries for cloud core financial suites. So it's the publications are taking notice, the independent research firms are taking notice. Most importantly, the customers are noticing, and they are what's really contributing to this rapid growth that we're having. So without further ado, I promised I wouldn't go along PowerPoint. I'm going to get into some software for you guys, and we'll talk a little bit about Acumatica. So if you give me, does anybody have any questions? I don't see any in the chat box right now. I'll continue to manage that for you guys. Let me just double check here in the questions. Nope, I don't see any there either. So I'm going to keep on moving, if that's okay. Tar, if you see any questions pop up, just ping me over. So this is the dashboard. When you log in, you get to pick your view as a user, what you'd like to see. So if you're a controller, maybe you want to see a dashboard that's something like this. If you're an AP clerk, we've got other dashboards that are available. And I'll talk a little bit about dashboards in a minute, but just on the platform, a couple things that you guys should know. It's a true cloud solution, but we don't make you keep this in a public cloud. So if you work in a sector where you say, hey, I need to have this under my own firewall, under my own security, you can do that. You can load it in your own public network. It'll run just exactly the same as it does in this public cloud base. So right out of the gate, it's got capabilities to be multi-language, multi-entity, so you can multi-currency. So we have all these features we can turn on for you guys if that is what your business profile calls for. If you get in a situation where you're maybe working on the border, or you've got employees maybe that live in Canada, or where it's more French speaking in certain areas, or Spanish speaking employees, you could actually have the system in Spanish or French or whatever language you needed for those employees, and then everyone else could be, it's all role based. So English speaking could have English, etc. If you work across currencies, it handles multiple currencies as well within the system. It's not something that you would pay for. It's just only if you needed it, we could turn that feature on. So you're not having to buy a feature that you say, well, I wouldn't use that, so we don't even turn it on for your company. All throughout the system, you'll see we have the capability to import and export data. Most systems are pretty good at getting data out to Excel. Traditionally, they're not very good at getting data in. This system is excellent at importing data throughout, so we can do it in a bunch of different areas of the system. And we've got really good role-based security. So if you look at just user roles and security types, we can grant access rights by user. We can do it by role. We can do it by screen, by feature, by module. There's all kinds of ways we can set these access rights for user security. So very tight security within the system. I'm going to keep moving on. I want to show you guys, if I can get my screen up here real quick, and bear with me 2 seconds. I do want to show you the mobile app, because you can see, and this might be a great place to start while I'm getting my phone hooked up here. It's got responsive design. So if we were looking at this on a tablet or a phone, and we wanted to see, okay, well, how does just logging in, you can see the tabs will scroll size down to where you got really a minimum of panning, but you could still drill in and do real work. But if you said, hey, really for what I'm doing, it's going to make more sense to use something on, a mobile app where, I just got a guy that can just push a button and get logged in, and it's, maybe something that's more simple. Let me see. So if we look at, what's available on the actual mobile piece, we can enter expense receipts. Let me just move this out of the way so you guys can see it a little bit better. We can enter expense receipts, we can have expense claims, approvals, different events, cases, opportunities, business accounts, really anything that was in the main system. If you guys said, hey, that would really function better for this person's role in the company on an app, we could move that to an app. Maybe it's a dashboard, maybe it's a report that they need, or maybe that's in projects so they could get a list of their projects. As they get logged in, it would say, hey, here's all the projects that the gym is associated with. And while it's getting loaded up here, I'll keep showing you guys some software here. So it'd pull up a screen similar to this. So you would have all of your projects on one single screen. You could look at, and all the same entry screen. So as I'm pulling up, I could look at my task, I could look at my costs, my budgets, all from your mobile app. So just different ways you can actually view the data, and that mobility goes across from, like I said, entering time to entering expenses, to looking at project costs and different reports that are available. The dashboards that you see, they come with about I want to say 10 to 12 dashboards, just sort of out of the box, that you could modify within here. And dashboards, I mean, just think of them more as a collection of widgets that are just sort of all combined together to give you a single view of what you want to see. You can drill down into them. So anything where I have a link, I could actually drill down. I can get more information. And one of the unique things about the dashboards in these systems, or in this system, is that the data, A, is not static, and B, you can really make it whatever you want it to be. A lot of times there's systems out there that have dashboards, or they have certain views, but they only allow you to put certain things on there, and you got to look at the data in a certain way. You can actually look at this data multiple ways. It could be queries, it could be a chart, it could be more of a tab here that I'm drilling into. It could be a wiki article, it could be an event calendar, it could be an announcement. Really the possibilities are endless on how you would use them. And they're very easy to design. So you could come in, you could say, well, I want to edit this particular dashboard, and I want to change the colors, to when I hit a certain cash requirement for 60 days, I really need this thing to alert me, and I could give it a different color. If I wanted to maybe add my own widget, I could just say add a new widget, and I want to put a chart on here, or I want to put a KPI or a Power BI. If I'm using Microsoft Power BI, I want to put one of those tiles in here, or a scorecard KPI. So you could very easily just click the data that you want and add the widget right here on the fly. So very easy to customize these. You can design, you can create new, you can edit, all along the way. So think of dashboards as kind of one of the ways you can look at reports and data in here, because you can drill down into it. Another way would be just in the actual reports itself. So within the system, we've got dozens and dozens of reports available. So you can create reports, you can configure ours, you can publish new ones, you can define filters, you could add images to the reports. And each area of this system, and these are suites going down the side of the page here. So if I'm in finance, these are the reports that are available that I have turned on right now. So if we can look at profit and loss, we can look at balance sheets, all that's right there within the system. So we got analytical reports as well as statistical reports. So I could run this. I could filter it out if I want to look at a profit and loss, and maybe I have multiple branches or divisions. I have consolidations I need to. I can say, well, show me everything in just the East branch or just the West branch, or I could roll it all up into one report. We can export these easily to Excel or PDF. We can send these out. We can print them. If we want to edit this report, we could actually make a modification of it as well that we can modify. So the user can do that. We could train you guys to do that, or you could have Alliance Solutions do your customizations for you. So lots of ways you can get the reporting that you guys want on there. So we talked about dashboards, talked about reports. Our last sort of reporting tool is what's called a generic inquiry. And for those of you that are using Sage 300 right now, you're used to inquiries. These are probably a little bit different, but there's really no programming skills that are required to do this. You just tell it a set of conditions, and then what do I want my results to look like? So I say, okay, I want to look up, active projects using this particular template. And then when I display it, I want it to look like, these are the fields I want. So I want description, I want revised amount, I want actuals, committed costs, so forth and so on. So I start defining the areas that I want to build, and then I can just look at my inquiry and say, okay, is this the data that I wanted to pull? And so every time I'm in here, I can say where it's a blue hyperlink, I can drill down and get more data. And so within the system, we have dozens of inquiries that you can use. Again, they're just turned on for you automatically. But if you guys want to develop your own, you can just simply add a new one and start creating your own inquiry. But in here, we've got commitments, we've got taxes. You can see it's going to tax zones. There's a super long list of inquiries you can have. Starts with, I think, AP and just moves right on through to taxes. But another way you can look at reports, so not quite a standard report, but you can slice it, you can dice it, you can make it more of a pivot table style report. And you guys may have noticed, I'm going to take a breath here and just check the chat box real quick to see if I've got any questions chatted in here. Let me see. So far, looks to be so good. One thing you guys may have noticed as I'm going through this, we have a really good search tool in here. It can be addicting because you'll stop looking in the menu, but you could simply just start typing in. Like for my next thing I wanted to show you guys is just approval maps. So within the system, if I just start typing in approval, it'll start pulling up everything related to approvals in this search menu. Now it'll pull up words, but one of the neat things it'll do, if I had transactions in here and I wanted to search like a dollar amount, it'll actually start looking, for transactions that match that dollar amount. So if I had one that was $125, it would show up in this search feature that's here right now. But one of the nice things that are in the system is the assignment and approval map. So within this area of the system, think about approvals of this. Maybe you've got AP bills, maybe you got purchase orders, expense claims, expense receipts, time cards, transactions, different requests that you may want to have an approval map for. So it says, hey, when I get a certain purchase order, maybe I want to have an approval process for that. And maybe it's not just a one-step process. Maybe it's a two-step, because maybe, user A could approve everything up to, say, $5,000. But if I get above, $5,000, maybe for larger POs, I want to have a different set of conditions, and that has to get a secondary approval. So I can start to set up these two-step approval maps for accounts payable. We've got them for AP bills. If we look at think of assignment maps as more of a way to set up notifications for, hey, maybe a new lead came in. Maybe it was an opportunity that you want to track, and that's got to go to a certain user, or maybe it's a requisition or a purchase receipt that you want to go ahead and have that mapped to a certain user within the company. The system is smart enough when you set these assignment maps up, and again, these come standard. You can add your own though, and you could set those things up for accounts and contacts and different email activities that you have. And the last thing that sort of goes along with approval maps and assignment maps is importing and exporting. So within the system, I already talked about exporting data. We can import data. So think of accounts, sub-accounts, vendor data, customer data, documents, batches, attributes. We can bring that data in, and we can build these scenarios to where it will automate the process and go out and grab that data at certain intervals that you guys have defined that you'd like to see that information brought in. So we've got workflow automation, we've got scheduled processing, we've got notification management, to where we can, hey, let's get alerted for record change notifications. We want to see, hey, if a vendor gets changed, or a customer, a sales order, something like that, I want to get notified of those changes. Those notifications would get sent to the user. So if I look in, just showing you the scheduled processing, if we look at let's just go into payables here and look at a bill. We'll pull up a list here. maybe we want to process these for payment at a certain date. When we do that, we've entered the AP bill. We've said, hey, here's the vendor, here's the location. We've entered all the detail that we like to do that. But now we've got to pay it. Within here, we've got these processes, and we have these built into receivables, into purchasing, to where we can take those documents and release those documents or prepare those checks in sort of like bulk order. So if we had, a list of bills that we needed to process at a given time, they would show up here. We could go ahead and add a schedule to go ahead and say, hey, every Friday, I want to go ahead and handle this particular task. I want to do that daily. Maybe I want to do it weekly on a certain day at a certain time. So we're able to start defining some of these processes so we don't have to go in and handle each transaction one at a time. We can get them queued up, and then at a given time when we want them to go ahead and process through, we can use the process feature to go ahead and automate some of those information. On the notifications, I mentioned that, so I figured I'll show you guys real quick here. See if I have one here. So if I had a notification that was sitting here, so this is one where a purchase order was waiting approval. If I had an approval process set up in there, I just want to show you what the notification looked like. It would queue up in their queue, but it could also alert the user that says, hey, dear manager, you've got a purchase order that's waiting for your approval. And then it'll go ahead and put a link in there where they can go. So if they're not in the office, maybe they're on their phone, they can go ahead and click on the link and go ahead and drill into this particular purchase order or AP bill, whatever it was, and go ahead and approve it right there. So we can alert them on a dashboard. We can alert them as a notification. Just kind of moving right on through. Some other things that customers always want to know, hey, can you import bank transactions? The answer to that is yes. We can do that. We can capture credit card payments, generate payments. There's a whole host of again, reports related to banking that we have within the system. And one thing you'll notice is every module has its own set of transactions, profiles, processes, inquiries that are designed for that particular module, and then its own set of reports. So again, just getting back to that layout, it looks fairly standard. No matter which module I'm in, I can find the information that I want as it pertains to that particular module. Just kind of moving right on down the line here to payables. Again, we can handle all your compliance issues, joint checks. We track retainage. We've got recurring invoices if you guys need those, or quick checks. Multiple location support, vendor-specific email templates, coming to, and again, when we get together one-on-one, we can get into all kind of workflow in these areas that you guys want. I just want to give you an overview of what the software has in it. Receivables, again, multiple application billing, schedule of value billing, retainage, recurring invoices, automatic application of payments. We can calculate commissions by invoice. Again, just dozens of reports. Again, one more just housekeeping I didn't really talk about on this particular menu. On any of these menus, I have everything turned on, but maybe I'm a user, I don't want to see all of these reports, I don't even use them. I can do what's called a quick menu. So I can edit this menu down and tell the system, hey, based on my user profile, I only want to see this report, this report, this report, this report. And when I do that, it puts them in my quick menu. So again, as we're setting this up for you guys, you don't have to look at this full list. I just put these up for this purpose so you can, as we're going through this quickly, you guys can look at the screens and it may answer some questions on different things that are in each individual module that we have within the system. There's got a full purchasing system built in, so we can handle requests, requisitions, sales orders from purchase orders. We can do blanket POs, drop shipments. We've got different requisition types. So we've got internal, and then we've got customer requisitions. So maybe you had a request for some material or something on a project. A user could go in here and add a new request, for a particular item. And then when you're in the actual item, we could go ahead and maybe if it's an internal one, maybe we want to request vendor bids. So maybe we want to create a requisition, and then as those bids come in, we want to complete those bid items. So if we look at the bidding portion of it, we might say, hey, I want to get bids from vendor A, A, B, and C, and we could look at track. We could track those bidding results here as those items came in, and we say, here's what we requested information on, and then by vendor, here's what they told us based on what we requested. So very easy to track your requisitions and complete your bidding and bidding responses within the system. It's got a full inventory suite in here as well. So if you guys need to have multiple warehouse locations, you need or track physical inventory counts, maybe you want to have sort pictures or have kits, all of that is in here. So if you think of a stock item, we could look at this item and have some preset information on our inventory pieces. So what class does it fall in, and by telling it a class, it'll go ahead and populate some different tax categories and posting classes that we have within that particular item. We can look at cost. So maybe we have a minimum and percent of markup that we want, or a default price as we're using inventory. We'll track that as well. With different warehouses that we have this particular piece of inventory from. One of the other nice things is we have replenishment information. So you can set safety stock or safety net, say, hey, when I get to 100, I want to go ahead and reorder, but I never want to have more than, say, 300. So you can begin to define what are my replenishment parameters. And then when you're in inventory and you want to say, hey, I want to prepare a replenishment, I can come up here to this function and say, let's look at all of my inventory items that I have on hand, and it'll tell me which items I need to actually order or not order inventory from. So if I had some minimum parameters set and there was an item that needed ordered, this prepare replenishment would show me those items that needed inventory at that time. And then I could choose to go ahead and order them, or I could just say, no, I really don't need them right now. I can just leave them sit on the side. So, but they'll always be housed in the replenishment setting. So very easy to handle reorders and different reporting that you need as it relates to inventory. One last thing I want to talk about is the CRM component. So I showed you with the dashboards that were related to more of a informational dashboard. This is more of a workflow-based dashboard that you can have. And we have these styles for service and CRM and some other functions within the software. They come in handy if someone's new and they're trying to maybe learn a workflow to the system. But they're not just pictures on a page, they're actual actionable buttons. So, if I was working the CRM section of the system and I got, say, a new lead, I could click on the lead. The lead button is going to go ahead and open up a tab that says, hey, let's enter a new lead. Let's track, who is the lead? What's their name? Why'd they call? What company are they with? Collect some basic contact information. I could go ahead and add activities. So if I wanted to schedule an appointment with these people, or schedule a phone call, or make a note of what transpired, I could add activity to this lead. I could then go ahead and convert it to an opportunity if I know there's going to be some revenue attached to it. So pretty neat stuff you can do built in the system within the CRM component. But if you said, hey, we're already working with a program like Salesforce, not a problem. Acumatica will go ahead and integrate with Salesforce as well. A couple more things. We're going to jump into projects. Just want to show you guys, we have some fixed asset management. I won't even really get into it. I'm just going to go ahead and get into my construction database here. But we have a fixed asset management, so if you guys need to manage depreciation and report on that, we have a full fixed assets piece in here. Same with time and expenses. So if you need to track time on the projects, do expense claims where you're submitting expenses and attaching supporting documentation, all that can be tracked. It just comes, this time and expense just comes included with the software, no additional fees to have that. But if I get in here to the construction piece, I'm just going to give you sort of 10 minutes on construction. And then if you guys have any questions, we can try to answer them. Again, the goal for me today was just briefly to talk through some of the functionality on the software. There's so much to cover. I apologize for going quickly, but I do want to make sure I at least hit some highlights for you guys to think about that would prompt some questions for a more formal demo for you guys. If we look at the construction piece of the system, so within the construction module, if I can look at a project log, I can say, okay, here's all my active projects based on my, again, user profile, so I have access to all of them, but this could be per project manager or per user. You could set these up. And if we look at, this is that single screen entry that I was talking about earlier, where we can go from the summary right on through the invoicing and really never leave this page, which really makes from the data entry really nice on this. So we can ID the project, give it a description. We're able to give it some basic information, when is it starting, what's our projected end date, do we want to identify a project manager? There's questions we can answer here and say, hey, do we want to, depending on the project size, we want to go ahead and lock our budget down or lock our commitments. And if we do, and we have a change to it, maybe we want to have a change order come through. So if we lock the budget, it's only going to allow us to make changes to that budget by using change orders. But if it's something small, or maybe we don't really want to worry about change orders, we can uncheck that and move on through the project. We can restrict certain employees from the project. We can track production data. We can tell, what are our terms? What type of billing rules are we going to use? Are we going to track retainage on this particular project? So again, just enter that basic information here about the project. Then we can go and task. And this is where we can say, hey, is this a sub job? Is it a schedule of value? Maybe do we have multiple phases or buildings within the project? Our revenue budget. So from here, we could key this in. We could have a template saved. If we were using a template for this particular project, that would automatically load our revenue budget items. Or we could import this from Excel. So if we had it on a file, we wanted to import that information, we could import this information in. And while I'm in the revenue section, it's very easy to update our percent complete or our pending invoice amounts right here from within this page. So if I wanted to update my work in progress and say, hey, this particular one, I'm 25% done, by keying that in there, it's going to go ahead and change all my numbers. You can see my computer's thinking here. It's going to give me a pending invoice amount, and then that is going to allow me to go ahead and run a project billing, again, right from this screen. So I never left it. I was right here in my project, went into revenue, updated my percent complete. Same thing, maybe I want to go ahead and I just want to enter a dollar amount or a pending invoice amount, say I just want to bill 10,000, on this particular item. It would go ahead and, again, it's going to work in reverse now. It's going to update my percent complete based on the pending invoice amount. And again, I could still run my project billing at that point. On the cost budget side of things, I'm able to import my estimate if I want. So if I'm using Sage Estimating, or if I'm using something like ProEst or one of those other third-party programs, I can get it to Excel. Maybe you're using OnCenter, and I can bring that information right into here, import that data. It's very simple. You click on this particular import button, you choose the particular file that you want, you grab it, and you choose upload. When you choose upload, it's going to ask you a couple of things. It's going to say, hey, your unit of measure field, our field says UOM, yours says units. So maybe you have to identify that your units is equal to our UOM, and then it will know that that field needs to import into this UOM field. So it's very easy to set that up and bring that information in right here on the fly. Within these particular items, if I want to look at my commitment details or transactions, I can right from this as well. So I could click on a line item. I could say view commitments. No, I don't want to change that. And it'll pull up my commitment details for that particular line item of the project if I have a commitment on here. And I do. So it'll give me that the information on this particular commitment. I can see what the schedule of value is for that, what my revised amounts are, and any information about it. Any place I see a hyperlink, I can drill down and get more data. Same thing, maybe I want to look at transactions for this particular commitment. I can do that as well. And this would show me any transactions if I had transactions attached to it. Kind of moving along through this further, I can set up different employees. So the system sort of assumes that all of the employees are going to have access to this particular project. But if there's certain employees that I want to restrict, I could add those in here. Same thing with equipment. If I want to track equipment rates and cost to my project, I can include that in this particular tab. Moving right along, I can handle change orders. Any change orders I have on the project will be handled here. I can, or can be will be listed here. You could enter them here if you wanted, or you can enter them from the projects or from the construction tab under change orders. But you could just enter one here if you needed to add a new one. But if I drill into an existing one, I'm able to see a few things about this. I'm able to look at the revenue side of this change order and the cost side. And are there any commitments that are associated with that particular change order? Yeah, gross margin on that is minus 56%. Activity history. This is where, again, we would track activity and notes and calls if we wanted to note calls about the project, emails maybe that were sent. All that would be stored here. If I wanted to add a task, maybe I wanted to have somebody follow up on some information. If you were using the CRM solution for Acumatica, these fields would be enabled. You could add a task and give assignments to somebody with a date that it was required by, and then it would record when they did it, what they did, and what the ultimate outcome was, and it would log all that information right here in the project. Think of attributes more of custom fields. If there's certain items in here that we don't have, you need to track, think of it more as a custom field that we could add in here. Kind of moving along, balances. This shows us our income and expenses for the project, so I can see what my original is, my change order amount, my actuals, and my performance on the project to date, all in one screen. All of my commitments for the project are here, so purchase orders and subcontracts. Again, any place I have a link, I can drill down, I can get more data. There's lots of drill down capabilities within this system, so you can keep going right into different areas of the system. One thing I didn't show you guys earlier as it relates to e-sign, maybe there's a document like a purchase order or some contract you guys want to send out and collect a signature for. So you could just simply, within the subcontract, you could email it. It would take a PDF and send it via email. We work with Office 365, or if you're using a Microsoft Exchange, we can do that as well. But you could also take this document and use something like DocuSign or Adobe eSign. And if we had DocuSign turned on, by clicking that edit button, the DocuSign tab would show up right here. And I could go ahead and sign into DocuSign. It would go ahead and send that information out. It would collect the signature. And when the new version came back, it would bring that version into my job with that signed contract. Any invoice that I have out here, so remember we ran the billings earlier. Here's all our invoices. And if I can do a couple of things. I could email the invoice out here. If I had approvals set up for a certain invoice, I could approve or reject them. I could also print it. So again, the reports are all customizable. The forms are all customizable. We can make these look however you guys really want them to look. This is just sort of out of the box what you get on a pro forma invoice. So you got task and description and your current invoice amount and retainage amount. Couple more things. If we had approvals on here, we would have it set up here. So any approval details that were related to this project, who approved it, what they approved, and the date and status of it would be here. Any mailing settings, this is where we set up if we have different mail settings for different customers. Compliance, we track full compliance, so insurance, license expirations, lien waivers. If we have any compliance issues, it'll always be noted with a little yellow alert to say, hey, this compliance document's expired. We need to get updated information for the compliance on this particular project. All right, and I think that pretty well takes us full circle on the project. So here's what I know. We're at 2:40. I don't want to keep you guys. I want to allow a couple minutes for questions. But I wanted to give you guys enough information that you could see it is a full suite. For those of you that would even need field services, so maybe you need to create work orders, schedule appointments, It has a full service suite available in it as well that we could show you guys. So we're happy to get into all kind of workflow demos with you as it relates to projects and AP entry, inventory, any of those needs that you guys may have. We're happy to schedule some one-off demonstrations to get really in the details on any of those areas. Somebody asked a question, does your CRM module work with Gmail? I think the answer probably is no, although I hate to say no. We integrate out of the box with Office 365 and Office. I guess, John, it depends on what you needed it to do. Are you asking would it track those emails that you sent? So can remote users on their mobile devices see the compliance information? Yes, they could. Anything that you see on this screen can be seen on a mobile device if we have it set up appropriately. So it's all in the setup. Yeah, so yes, we use Google Apps, not Exchange, Office 365, so Gmail integration would be needed. And we can talk more about that. I can get some more information for you on that. I think it depends, John, what all you want to track and how we want to track it. So I'll be happy to follow up with you guys on that and get some information out on Gmail and what integration we can use on that side of it. There's a lot of things we can integrate with. I don't have a full list, at my fingers all the times, but yeah, we can bring in those different to see compliance issues. Those would show up on mobile devices. Any other questions? All right. I think if no one has any other questions, let's see, one more came in. Can you add images to the invoices? Yes, you can. And guys, if questions come to you, after the fact, just feel free to email Tar if you're working with Tar, or email me, and I'm happy to get those questions answered for you. Again, I think ideally we'd love to catch back up with you guys, do a needs analysis to figure out where maybe some of the holes in your current solution are now, and see if there's things we can address in Acumatica. And we really believe, I mean, this product is got tremendous upside. There's a lot that it can handle. And a lot we can do to tie into other systems that you guys may use to help run your business smoothly. Let's see, does it compile the invoice images when you run the project billing? I don't know the answer to that offhand, but I can find out, John. I'll make a note of that. Just write that down real quick. Invoice images. I will definitely get back with you on that. Billing side. Very good. All right, everyone. If there are no other questions for today, I hope today was useful to everyone. Thank you all for attending. And again, reach back out to us. We'd love to catch back up with you one-on-one and really get into some workflow-based demos for you guys to show you how all the pieces of this fit together. And we'll go through step by step to show you how to do these run these key areas of your business within Acumatica. Okay? Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you attending. If there's no further questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the call for today. All right. Thank you. Thank you, John. Great questions. Have a great day.